How many people did you shelter in your home? More than 300 people, a case of a nuclear war. There were about 32 to 33 children here. The state doesn't cover these cases. Why did you start working with amputees? Dream of a professional rehabilitation center. Good afternoon, Vyacheslav. Good afternoon. I'm glad to see you again. Friends, you just saw the footage from our last year's program, where a wealthy developer, during a full-scale war, started evacuating people injured by shelling, turned his huge house into a shelter for more than 300 evacuees, set up his own foundation, and helped with the rehabilitation and prosthetics of our military. Vyacheslav, in the last program, you said that you have a goal to create a place where our military can get back on their feet. And now we are in the center of prosthetics, unique artificial prosthetics. We are located at our Center of Complex Endoprosthetics, Simple Integration, and Bionics. Based on the Miru Clinic, we not only provide prosthetics here, but we also operate. We perform complex surgeries on bones with osteointegration. Then we offer rehabilitation, and simultaneously, the first Bionics laboratory in Ukraine exists here, where we test and train bionic hands for new owners. We help military veterans and other patients who are amputees with complicated amputations and short stumps, who cannot be fitted with a prosthesis in the traditional way. That means those who can't use a traditional stump holder and those who are recommended this type of integration. Our center takes care of the most complicated cases. These include complex endoprosthetics and endoprosthetics following gunshot wounds of the joints, knee, and hip. We treat bone defects, in other words, cases where the patient is often at risk of amputation. Using state-of-the-art 3D printing, we can perform an operation to replace the defect and get the patient back on their feet to restore the function of their arm or leg. The other field we focus on is acute integration. For when a patient can't be given a prosthesis with regular prosthetics, we perform surgical acute integration intervention. When an implant is implanted into the bone and a prosthesis is attached to it, you experience a new level of freedom and movement. This opens up various possibilities for such patients. Stay healthy, guys. Hi, Artem. Hello, friend. Hi, Anton. Hello, 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 Sasha. Glad to see you. Is this for situations when you cannot fit a traditional prosthesis, hence you have to let go of this brace? I'm hoping that by the beginning of April, I will have moved on from it already, and I will pass it on to you along the Greitums who are preparing for prosthesis. Fascinating guy, Stepan, a military man who had a short amputation of his left shoulder. He received a classic prosthesis. However, with classic prosthetics, we block the full mobility of the shoulder suga lip, and mobility is lost. Stepan approached us and asked
to discuss the integration of the shoulder for those who have completed rehabilitation and are using a prosthesis. We will demonstrate how it works. Serhi also has an amazing story. We met at the hospital and he decided that this integration is of interest to him because he has a short shoulder and he plans to return to service as an instructor. He is quite experienced and for that reason he needs a bionic arm. How did he lose a limb? During the evacuation, he was assisting his guys, and we came under fire from a tank, SPG, and AGS. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to the dugout in time. The two guys who were there supporting his legs were killed on the spot. They missed each other, and that's the truth. In the year 2023, every month saw an increase of 1,000 primary amputations, so you understand how many thousands. Yes, there are more than 10, perhaps over 20,000 amputees, and our amputations are complicated. They are double, they are triple, so it is necessary to apply modern technology here. I was laying on the battlefield and I wanted to remove the tourniquet myself, but the pain was excruciating. No, I couldn't have stood it. Well, I had a feeling like that. My hand already reached for the tourniquet, but then I remembered. I took my phone, I looked at my loved ones greedily. Well, I waited. Maybe a friend would take me, and I was lucky. The evacuation came for me. No, I opened my eyes and saw how I was leaking. My kneecap was lying to the side in the trench. No, I want to live, guys. How and where did we find specialists to create this project, this center? This was what the evacuation helped with, because we brought seriously traumatic patients to Kiev, to the Institute of Traumatology. There, I met two wonderful surgeons. We created an association, first of Osteointegration. We wrote a letter from the association to Richard Brainmark. I remember this, very famous. Let's go. We're writing a letter from the association because there is no experience of such operations in Ukraine. Yes. And in a week we will receive an answer, and I agreed to come to you on the second Sunday in May. You invited Richard for the purpose so that he would teach our doctors to perform such operations, and Mr. Galuzinski called me. He received the letter and said, well, this costs a lot of money. I said, let's agree and then we will decide. And Richard did not charge for his first visit, for the first set of implants. For the 3 soldiers, he said, you are a big family, and I am very pleased to be helpful and to help the soldiers.
I received injuries from a kamikaze drone. There was a fight. I prayed for those who were on their way to help us. It took a long time for me to be evacuated. Then I had to have my legs amputated. I realized that this was not the worst thing that could have happened. I saw people who were not rescued, who were left there. I realized that I was very lucky. I felt scared to call my mom and tell her that I was injured. When I saw her, I told her that if she was upset or worried, it would make me feel bad. And then I saw myself standing. I began to talk to Vyacheslav. He told me what prosthetic options I had. I liked that. I felt hopeful there. I think this is my salvation anyway. There are people who want to live well in this life. Your motivation is your family, am I right? Yes, very much so. I love my daughter very much. When it was hard for me, for example, during the war, I always thought of her and it gave me strength.
Every one of our patients, we see them through to the end. That is, after their surgery, we begin to undertake their rehabilitation and also the fitting of prosthetics. And after about 4 to 6 months, they're already staying with us. And our task is to support them because the center provides free assistance to all the veterans so fully, at no expense for all veterans. Every day they visit the center, so we all live here because everyone wants to get back on their feet and take their hands into their own hands as soon as possible. And we strive for performing exercises, well, first of all for ourselves, because it hurts, even to the bone sometimes. But gradually they get used to it. Each prosthetic costs millions of hryvnias. Where do you get the money? Who helps you? You have some reputable businesses. I keep in touch all the time, and when there is a severe case, a double amputation, a triple amputation, I immediately turn to them because the costs, a good bionic arm, it's 100,000 euros. If there's a double amputation of both arms, that's already 2,000 euros. An electronic knee specifically for osteointegration costs more than 2 million. The osteointegrative prosthesis is the most advanced. It is closely replicated to our natural senses and system of movements. Anton is a unique patient. He will be the patient with 3 osteointegrative prostheses, one of them being electrical. A special electric screw will be inserted there. A special electrical screw with electrodes. They will come out of the bone. These electrodes will be able to capture potentials from nerves, from muscles, and Anton, after this operation, after rehab, will be able to consciously operate the prosthesis. Externally, there won't be any attachments, there won't be any electrodes, everything will be within the body. How did you get your wounds? Taking a position, a mine flew in, it shredded a backpack, ripped a bulletproof vest. Under the bulletproof vest, I still had Kevlar protection, such a specially sewn jacket, so it saved my life. My sheepskin coat remained intact, and then when I could move, I looked right, I looked to the left. Asked to be raised up, I looked well like there's no 3-pitch. I understood that I've got a wife and kids. You've lived through, you've carried out your duty, and you need to keep on living, keep on making do. How you ended up in the center of complex prosthetization. The problem we have in the US is that there's very few prosthetists that do hands, and it's tough to do hands. They offered me big corsets, very inconvenient, and people with one remaining functional leg would just leave these corsets at home and learn to use just one hand. I want to show you what an integrative prosthetic looks like. In fact, according to Batman, you see titanium part that comes from the body. With such a contraption, patient could swim in the ocean or swim in the pool later. When a person uses a common prosthetic, it pressurizes soft tissue and often injures soft tissue. Here the pressure's physical. They feel the pressure on the bone and their understanding of their prosthetic is better. If we talk about the final integrative prosthetics of the lower limb, the patient experiences irregularities when walking. Close your eyes and move your hand or foot sideways, and you'll notice the position of your hand or foot without needing to look at it. When we fit Anton with a prosthetic arm, his shoulder joint will be completely free. Move your shoulder joint, please. There's no socket receiver here, so nothing will happen to him. It can restrict movement. There is some lifespan for this prosthesis, like the basic integrative prosthetics that were installed by Richard Brannemark in Sweden in the 90s and are still in use today.
extend the cheek all the way down? Yes, all the way up. Everything is normal, no lifting. Okay, super. How does the bionic prosthesis work? Who controls whom in our case? Who's in charge? The person with the prosthesis, not the prosthesis with the person. With the help of the code system, we don't need to adjust to the protest because the protest will adjust to the person. I say the commands that he needs to follow, and he and the patient execute the commands with his phantom hand. For example, he bends his arm at the elbow, he unbends it. This system writes it down and remembers, and then it doesn't forget it. The patient may think that he wants to bend. This whole system will give me the opportunity to exist and make the most of what I can get in life at the moment. You're the first person who sees your patient, and you see despair in their eyes, and you say that you will help him, you will save him. What emotions do you see, and what do you feel yourself? I come to the rehab center, yes, to the distressed double amputee there. I say, "Friend, we will help." At first, he looks at me and says, "You have arms, legs, how can you feel and understand what I am, what state I am in?" I take out my phone and show it. "Look, this is an experience, you will stay alive." And this means that you must fulfill your mission, as they say, in life. When I see that a guy has gone or received a hand and he uses it, it inspires me a lot. It gives me energy. He was wounded during the battle when tanks reached us in the trenches. He rode sideways with one caterpillar into the trench and just crushed everyone who was there in the trench with the caterpillar. Sayus, when Tom in his hand, he took a machine gun before the battle to shoot. And at one point he stops and thrusts the second gosling into the trench and crushes me all over the body. The limb was later cut off when I was taken out from under the tank. About a few hours after that, the first protest was made to me in Lviv. He had almost no functions, most of all motivation. What I decided to change, well, put osteointegration, is that I do sports. I began engaging in archery and achieved a lot. For instance, last year I became the champion of Ukraine in archery among Paralympians. I could have achieved much more if I had a different fasting system. I have a great plan. In 4 years there will be a Paralympics, and I am certain that I will participate there. Even with such injuries as mine, I know for sure one can still live fully thanks to high technology. With such injuries, one can still use a computer, drive a car, and enjoy life as before the injury. I know for sure that I will continue to assist the guys with my own example. This is very important because tackling this path alone is challenging. This all needs to be shared, yet we lack such specialists. I have never regretted, not even once, going to the front, despite the fact that I lost 3 limbs.